Aria lived on a broken world. The colony was built on the edge of a desert planet. The ground was dry, the air was thin, and the sky was always red. People worked in the mines to survive, digging for rare metals that could be sold to the traders from the stars. But Aria was not welcome in this world. Her stepfather often told her she was too wide, too soft, too full. He said she ate too much and worked too little. He said she was a burden. He never called her by name, only by insults. Aria's mother had died when she was young. Since then, her stepfather treated her like extra weight he had to carry. The neighbors whispered about her too. They laughed when she walked by, saying no man would ever want her. Aria kept her head low, but inside her heart was heavy. She often looked at the sky and wished she could escape, but she had no money, no friends, and no power. One night, everything changed. Her stepfather sat in the small house, drinking and shouting at the walls. The smell of cheap liquor filled the room. Aria stayed quiet, hoping he would pass out, but instead there was a knock at the door. 3 men stepped inside, their clothes marked with the dust of the desert. They were not from the colony. Their eyes were sharp and their hands carried strange weapons. They called themselves traders, and their leader had skin pale as ice and eyes that glowed faintly. In the dark, the stepfather's eyes lit up. He knew these men carried things more valuable than gold. He begged them for a bottle of shining blue liquid, a drink from another world. The leader smiled. Showing teeth too sharp to be human, he asked what the stepfather would give in return. Aria heard her name. Her stepfather's voice was cold and quick. "She is useless here," he said. "Take her. She eats too much. She is too big, too wide, too soft. She is worth nothing to me." Aria froze. Her heart pounded in her chest. She looked at her stepfather, hoping he was drunk and joking, but his eyes were clear and his grin was cruel. The traders studied her in silence, their glowing eyes moving up and down her body. One of them whispered to the leader in a strange language. The leader nodded, and they placed the shining bottle in her stepfather's hand. He laughed, drank deeply, and stumbled back into his chair. In that moment, Aria realized she had been sold, not for gold, not for weapons, but for a single drink. The traders pulled. Her outside, the cold desert wind hit her face. The colony was silent, the streets empty under the red sky. Aria struggled, shouting for help, but no one came. Her stepfather's voice called out from inside. "Good riddance, girl, you were never worth anything." Tears filled Aria's eyes, but she held them back. Her body shook, but her mind was awake. Something inside her whispered, a small voice she had never heard before. "Do not fear," it said, but she did not understand. The traders dragged her to the edge of the colony. There, hidden in the sand, was their starship. It looked alive, its metal surface breathing like the skin of a giant creature. The doors opened with a hiss and strange light poured out. Aria felt her chest tighten, her breath heavy. She wanted to run, but the men pushed her forward. She stumbled up the ramp into the belly of the ship. The door closed behind her. Darkness surrounded her. Only the soft glow of alien symbols lit the walls. The air was heavy, with a strange smell like burning stone and sweet fruit. The traders spoke quickly in their strange language. Aria sat in the corner, her knees pulled close, her heart beat like a drum, her mind full of fear. But the voice returned, stronger. This time, "You are not weak," it said. "You are not too wide, too full, too soft. You are more than they know." Aria looked around, but no one had spoken. The traders ignored her, busy with the ship's controls. The floor began to shake, and the ship rose from the desert. The colony grew smaller and smaller until it vanished under the clouds of red dust. Her stepfather was gone. Her home was gone. Everything she had known was gone. Aria's hands trembled, but her eyes burned with something new. Fear mixed with fire, pain mixed with anger, she whispered to herself, "This is not the end. This is only the beginning." The ship jumped into the stars, and the voice inside her whispered again, "You were never sold, you were chosen." The ship moved through the dark sky. Aria sat on the floor, her back against the cold wall. Her hands were tied with glowing ropes that burned softly against her skin. She wanted to scream, but her voice felt locked inside her chest. The traitors spoke in their strange tongue, their words sharp and quick. She could not understand them, but she felt their eyes on her, always watching, always measuring. The walls of the ship seemed alive. They pulsed faintly, as if a heart was beating inside the metal. Aria touched the floor with her palm and felt a low vibration. It was like the ship was breathing, carrying her away from the world she had always known. Her colony, her stepfather, her old life, all shrinking into memory as the stars swallowed the sky. The leader of the traitors walked toward her. His pale skin glowed in the dim light, and his sharp eyes cut through her like blades. He crouched down, his face close to hers. "You are not weak," he said in broken human words. "You are rare." Then he smiled, a thin, cruel smile, and walked away. Aria's heart jumped. Rare. What did that mean? Why would they want someone like her, someone who was always called too wide, too soft, too much? Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time felt strange inside the ship. There were no windows, only shifting patterns of glowing symbols on the walls. Aria felt tired, but sleep would not come. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the voice again, the same voice that had whispered in the desert. "You are not theirs," it said. "You belong to something greater." She shook her head, whispering to herself, "I am nobody, I am nothing." But deep inside, she knew the voice was not a dream. It was calling her, pulling her toward something she could not yet see. The ship began to shake. The traitors strapped themselves into seats, barking orders. One of them pulled Aria roughly to her feet and tied her into a chair. The walls around them shifted, showing the darkness outside, and then, with a sudden crack of light, the stars stretched into long lines. The ship jumped into hyperspace. Aria gasped. The world around her turned into a tunnel, of colors twisting and bending. The sound of the ship changed, deep and endless like a giant's heartbeat. She felt her chest grow heavy, her head spinning, and then, in the middle of the chaos, the voice returned, louder than ever. "Now you feel it, child of the old ones, now you feel who you truly are." Her body shook. She tried to fight it, but the voice was inside her bones. The traitors glanced at her, whispering again. One of them looked afraid, another nodded with greedy eyes. The leader only stared, his thin smile never leaving his face. The ship calmed, the lights dimmed, and the tunnel of colors faded back into the black of space. Aria's breath was fast, her chest rising and falling like she had run a long race. Her ropes glowed brighter, as if reacting to her heartbeat. The leader noticed, his sharp eyes watching every flicker of light. "You feel it, don't you?" he said, his voice soft, but certain. "You are waking up." Aria shook her head. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling. But she could not deny the truth. Something inside her had moved. Something she could not explain. The traitors left her alone, returning to the front of the ship. Aria sat in silence, her eyes scanning the glowing symbols on the walls. One of them shifted suddenly, turning into a shape she almost understood. It looked like a hand, open and reaching. Her breath caught. The voice returned, softer this time, almost gentle. "We will guide you," it said. "Do not fear the path." Aria closed her eyes, her mind filled with strange images. Tall beings, of light, worlds burning, ships flying through endless skies. And then she saw herself standing among them, her body glowing with power. She gasped and pulled away, her chest aching. What was happening to her? Why would she see such things? The ship slowed. The traitors prepared for landing. Through the walls, Aria saw a planet appear. It was not like her desert home. This world was covered in cities of light, towers stretching into the clouds, ships flying like insects across the sky. It looked alive, full of power and danger. Her heart pounded. Where were they taking her? Why did the voice inside her grow stronger as they neared the surface? The leader came back, pulling her up by the arm. "Not weak," he whispered again, almost to himself. "Not weak, not soft, not useless. No, you are more than they know." His words chilled her for the first time. Aria felt something worse than fear. She felt that these men were not her masters, not her owners. They were only the beginning. The real danger was waiting for her on the world below. The ship pierced the clouds. The towers grew taller, the lights brighter. Aria's chest burned with a mix of dread and fire. Her life had been traded for a drink, but the voice told her it was more. Her body was not weak. It was chosen. The ship landed with a hiss, and the doors opened. Blinding light poured inside, and the voice whispered one last time, "This is where your true journey begins." The city stretched like a living maze under the red skies of the New World. The towers were made of black stone and glowing glass, each one humming with strange energy. The streets were crowded with creatures from across the stars, some tall and shining, others short and covered in scales. Aria had never seen such beings before. Her eyes wide as she was dragged through the noise and chaos. Everywhere she looked, alien eyes turned toward her, watching, whispering, measuring. The traders pulled her down a narrow street, their grip strong on her arms. She stumbled, but they did not slow. They led her to a huge building, carved with symbols that glowed faintly in the dark. The doors opened without touch, sliding aside as if they were alive. Inside, the air was heavy and cold, filled with the smell of smoke and oil. They pushed her into a wide hall. At the center, a circle of glowing light waited. Strange figures stood around it, their faces hidden by silver masks, their robes long and flowing. One of them spoke in a deep voice. "She is the one." The leader of the traders bowed, his sharp smile never leaving his face. "Yes," he said. "We bring her as promised." Aria trembled. Her body shook as the masked figures stepped closer, their hands raised in a gesture she did not know. One of them touched her shoulder, and a shock of energy shot through her skin. Aria gasped, pulling away, but the glow spread across her body like fire under the skin. She fell to her knees, her breath fast, her heart racing. The masked figure's voice was calm. "Her blood sings, she is real." The traders exchanged greedy glances. Aria's fear grew, but at the same time the voice inside her returned, louder, stronger. "They know you," it said. "They remember what you are." Aria whispered, "What am I?" But no one answered, not even the traders, not even the masked ones. The circle of light began to shift, symbols rising into the air like smoke. They wrapped around her, bright and sharp, cutting into her skin without leaving wounds. The hall shook, the floor groaned, the light grew brighter. The masked figures chanted in a language older than words. Aria's mind filled with images again. Giant beings made of fire and shadow. Wars that burned across galaxies. Ships shattering in the dark. And always, in the center of it all, a figure that looked like her. Wide, strong, glowing with endless power. She screamed. Her voice echoed through the hall, shaking the air. The symbols vanished. The chanting stopped. The masked figures stepped back, their silver masks reflecting the glow of her skin. The leader of the traders whispered, "It is true. She carries the seed of the ancients." Aria collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. Her body felt heavy, but her mind was racing. Seed of the ancients, what did that mean? Why did they speak as if she was more than human? Her stepfather had called her worthless, weak, too much. But here, they looked at her like she was treasure. The leader of the traders spoke again. "She will bring a high price," he said, his greedy eyes burning. "She is not just flesh, she is a vessel." The masked figures nodded slowly, one of them stepping closer. "You cannot sell what belongs to destiny," the figure said, their voice deep and final. "She was shaped for more than trade. Her body carries the memory of the old race. Her blood remembers. Her flesh remembers." Aria shook her head. "No," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I am nothing. I am no one." But the voice inside her rose again, clear and strong. "You are not nothing, you are the bridge." The traders grew angry. Shouting at the masked figures, gold and weapons were promised, not riddles. The air grew tense, the smell of smoke thicker. Aria crawled backward, her hands trembling. her body glowing faintly still. Her heart pounded as she realized the truth. She was not just sold for drink. She was wanted for something much darker, something greater, something she did not yet understand. The leader of the traders drew his weapon, a blade of light that hissed as it cut the air. "We will take her to the market," he said. "She will bring riches beyond count." The masked figures raised their hands, power crackling in the air. "No," they said together, "she is not for you." Chaos broke out, the hall filled with flashes of light, the sound of weapons clashing. The roar of ancient power. Aria covered her ears, her eyes wide, her breath fast. The voice inside her whispered again, "Run!" And she did. She pushed herself up, her legs heavy but strong. She ran through the smoke, past the fighting, through a narrow door at the side of the hall. Her feet pounded against the cold floor. Her heart felt like it would burst. Behind her, the sounds of battle grew louder. Ahead of her, the corridor stretched into darkness. She had no plan, no path, no guide. But the voice whispered once more, "You are not weak. You are not too soft. You are the hidden truth." And for the first time, Aria believed it. Aria's breath echoed in the narrow corridor. Her feet struck the cold metal floor as she ran, her hands still bound by glowing ropes. Behind her, the hall shook with the sound of battle, the clash of weapons and the roar of strange energy. The silver-masked figures fought the traders, and the air burned with smoke and light. Aria did not look back. She only ran, the corridor, twisted like a serpent. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, shifting as if they were alive. The ship-like building seemed to guide her, its lights flickering brighter in the path ahead. She followed, her heart racing. The voice inside her whispered, "Go forward, do not stop." Her legs trembled, her chest burned, but she pushed on. She reached a door at the end of the corridor and it slid open with a hiss. The room beyond was dim, filled with shadows and tall shapes. She stepped inside, her eyes wide, and there, waiting in the dark, stood a figure, wrapped in a black cloak, a silver mask covering their face. Aria froze. She thought it was another of the masked priests, but this one was different. The figure held no weapon, their posture calm, their voice quiet. "Do not fear," they said. "I am not your enemy." Aria's body shook. "Who are you?" she whispered. The figure stepped closer, their mask catching the faint light. "Someone who knows what you are, someone who has been waiting for you." Before Aria could speak, shouts echoed from the corridor behind her. The traders were coming, their voices sharp, their footsteps heavy. The cloaked figure reached out a hand. "Come. If you stay, they will take you again. If you follow me, you may live." Aria hesitated only a moment. Then she stepped forward. The figure's hand was strong and steady as they pulled her deeper into the shadows. They moved through hidden passages. Aria's breath was fast, her ropes still glowing against her wrists. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice weak. The cloaked figure answered without pause. "Because they do not want you alive, they want what sleeps inside you. They will tear it out. They will use it to burn worlds." Aria's stomach turned, fear twisting inside her. "What sleeps inside me?" she whispered. The figure looked at her, their mask hiding their face. "You will see soon enough." They slipped into another corridor, this one wider and brighter. Through a tall window, Aria saw the city below, its towers glowing like fire. Ships darted, through the air, their engines screaming. The sight made her chest tighten. The world was too big, too loud, too strange. She pressed closer to the cloaked figure who moved quickly but never let go of her hand. Suddenly, a blast of light cut through the wall ahead. The traders appeared, their leader at the front, his blade of light glowing hot. He shouted, "She is ours. She belongs to us." Aria's heart stopped. Her stepfather stood beside him. His face twisted with greed. He had followed, drunk on promises of wealth, his eyes shining with hunger. "There she is," he shouted. "Take her. She is mine to sell." Aria's blood ran cold. Her stepfather had sold her once, and now he came to sell her again. Her chest burned with anger, tears filling her eyes. The cloaked figure pulled her back, their voice sharp. "Do not listen, he is nothing. He has no claim on you." The traders advanced, their weapons raised. The cloaked figure drew a blade of their own, its edge dark and sharp as shadow. "Run when I tell you," they whispered. But Aria shook her head, her voice breaking. "I cannot. They will catch me." The figure leaned close, their masked eyes fixed on hers. "Trust me, you are stronger than you think." The traitors charged. The corridor filled with fire and light. The cloaked figure moved like a storm, their blade cutting, their cloak spinning. Aria stumbled back, her ropes burning hotter, her skin glowing faintly again. The leader of the traitors shouted, his voice full of rage. "She is the vessel. Do not let her escape." Her stepfather lunged forward, grabbing her arm. His grip was rough, his breath foul. "You owe me," he hissed. "Without me, you are nothing. You are weak. You are mine to sell." Aria's body shook, fear and anger mixing until she could not hold it back. Her skin burned with sudden light. Her ropes cracked and split. A wave of energy burst from her chest, knocking her stepfather to the ground. His eyes wide, his body frozen in shock. The corridor went silent for a moment. Even the traitors stared, their weapons lowering. Aria stood free, her hands glowing faintly, her breath heavy. The cloaked figure looked at her with surprise, but also with respect. "You see," they said softly, "you are not weak, you are waking." The traitors recovered, shouting in rage, their leader raising his blade. But the cloaked figure pushed Aria behind them, standing tall. "This is not your prize," they said, their voice steady. "This is destiny, and destiny is not for sale." Aria's chest pounded, her eyes burning. Her stepfather groaned on the floor, his hand reaching out, his voice bitter. "You are nothing. You will always be nothing." But Aria no longer believed him. The voice inside her rose again, strong and clear. "You are more than they know. You are more than they fear." And for the first time she felt it might be true. The corridor burned with smoke and sparks. Aria stood free, her wrists no longer bound, the ropes cracked apart by the sudden burst of light from her own body. The traitors stared at her, their greedy eyes wide, their voices whispering in fear and wonder. The cloaked figure held their shadow blade ready, standing between Aria and the men who wanted to claim her. Her stepfather groaned on the ground, clutching his chest, his face twisted with rage. "Do you see?" the leader of the traitors shouted, his voice echoing against the walls. "She carries it inside her. She is the vessel. She is the key." His words sent chills down Aria's spine. She wanted to ask what he meant, but she could not find her voice. Her body still glowed faintly, the strange energy pulsing under her skin. It frightened her, yet it also gave her strength. The cloaked figure stepped closer to her, their voice low but firm. "They will not stop. Not until they rip the secret from your body. You cannot trust them. You cannot trust anyone here." Aria looked at them with wide eyes. "Then why should I trust you?" she whispered. The figure tilted their masked head. "Because I have nothing to gain, only something to protect." Her stepfather suddenly coughed out a laugh. His voice was hoarse but sharp. "You think they care for you," he spat. "You think anyone cares. They want you for what you carry, nothing more. You were never more than a weight. Too wide, too soft, too much." His words stabbed at her heart. The same words she had heard all her life, but this time, they did not crush her. They burned. And inside that burn, the voice spoke again. "He cannot see what you are, but they all see it, and soon so will you." The traitors advanced, their weapons raised. The cloaked figure fought with skill, their blade clashing with beams of light, sparks flying in every direction. Aria pressed herself against the wall, her breath quick, her chest tight. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. The leader of the traitors pushed through the fight, his glowing eyes fixed on her. "You cannot hide from what you are," he said, his voice cutting like steel. "You carry the memory of the ancients. You carry their seed. Your body is the last vessel of their power." Aria shook her head, her hands trembling. "No," she whispered. "I am nothing. I am no one." But even as she said the words, the glow under her skin grew brighter. The leader smiled, cruel and sharp. "Yes, you deny it, but it lives in you. You cannot escape it." Her stepfather dragged himself up, his hand clutching a fallen weapon, His eyes burned with greed, his voice harsh. Give her to me. She is mine. I will sell her again. I will be rich. I will be powerful. The leader of the traders sneered. You are nothing, human. She is beyond your reach now. And with a swift strike, he cut the weapon from the stepfather's hand, sending it clattering across the floor. Aria gasped, torn between fear and fury. Her stepfather had betrayed her again, not once but twice. Even here, in the middle of danger, he thought only of profit. The anger inside her swelled, mixing with the strange light that lived in her chest. Her hands began to glow brighter, her body trembling as if something inside was trying to break free. The cloaked figure noticed, their masked face turning toward her. Do not fight it, they said, their voice urgent. Let it come. Let it rise. It is yours. Aria's eyes filled with tears. But what if it destroys me? She whispered. The figure's blade spun, cutting down another traitor. Then you will know the truth. Better to know than to die a slave. The leader of the traitors lunged forward, his blade raised. Aria lifted her hands without thinking, and a wave of pure energy burst from her body. The light roared like fire, sweeping across the corridor. The traitors were thrown back, their weapons shattering, their bodies crashing into the walls. Even the cloaked figure staggered. Their cloak torn by the blast, only Aria remained standing, her body surrounded by a soft, blinding glow. Her stepfather lay on the ground again, his face pale with fear. His voice was small now, broken. What are you? He whispered. You are not my daughter, you are not human. Aria looked at him, her eyes burning with light. For the first time, she felt no fear of his words, no chains from his insults. She stepped closer, her voice steady. I am more than you ever saw. I am more than you could ever sell. The cloaked figure approached, their blade lowered. They bowed their heads slightly, a gesture of respect. You are awakening, they said softly. You are not a vessel of weakness. You are the weapon they fear, the weapon they desire. Aria's chest tightened, her breath uneven. Weapon, the word echoed in her mind. She had always been told she was too much, too wide, too soft. But now she was told she was too powerful. The traitors groaned on the floor, their leader struggling to rise, his voice full of rage. You cannot stop what is coming. You may carry their power, but you cannot control it. You will burn with it, and when you do, the galaxy will take what remains. His words sent a shiver through her, but the voice inside her rose again, calm and strong. You are not a slave to their fear. You are the choice. You are the flame. You decide how it burns? Aria looked down at her hands, still glowing faintly. She had unleashed something she could not understand, something that frightened even those who wanted her. But for the first time she felt something stronger than fear. She felt the beginning of control, and she knew the journey was only just beginning. The corridor was silent after the blast. The traitors lay scattered on the floor, groaning and broken. Her stepfather crouched in the corner, his face pale with fear, his eyes wide with disbelief. Aria stood in the center, her body glowing faintly, her breath sharp and heavy. For the first time she felt both terrified and alive. The cloaked figure lowered their blade. They stepped closer, their voice calm. You have seen it now. The power inside you cannot deny it. Aria shook her head, her hands trembling. I do not want this. I never asked for this. The figure tilted their mask toward her. Destiny is not asked for. It is carried. Her stepfather's voice cracked. She is no destiny. She is a curse. She is a monster. His words echoed in the corridor, bitter and sharp. But Aria no longer felt chained by his voice. She turned her eyes to him, her glow brightening. I am not yours to sell anymore, she said softly. Her stepfather flinched as if struck. The cloaked figure placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and firm. There is no time to waste. The Empire will come. They will not let this power slip away. Aria's stomach turned at the word. Empire. What empire? She asked, her voice low. The figure's reply was heavy with dread. the one that hunts the blood of the ancients, the one that wants to use your gift to crush all resistance. They are already on their way. The ground trembled as if to prove the words true. Alarms echoed through the city outside, sharp and rising. Ships roared in the sky, streaks of light cutting through the towers. Aria pressed her hands to her chest, her heart pounding. She could feel something pulling at her, as if the world itself was calling. The cloaked figure turned to her quickly. You must choose, hide forever and be hunted, or stand and fight, use what you carry before they take it from you. Aria's breath caught in her throat. Fight, she whispered. How can I fight something so big? The figure's voice was steady. Because you are bigger, not in body, but in what lives inside you. Her stepfather groaned again, crawling toward her. His voice turned sweet, false, desperate. Aria, listen to me. I raised you. I fed you. I'm your family. Stay with me. We can sell this gift together. We can be rich. We can rule. Aria's eyes filled with tears, but her jaw tightened. You did not raise me. You only broke me. You never wanted me. You only wanted what I could give you. Her words shook the corridor. Stronger than his greed, stronger than his lies. The cloaked figure touched her arm. There is more if you accept it. Your body will change. Your blood will awaken. You may not survive. Aria's chest tightened, fear rising in her throat. What if I die? She asked, her voice small. The figure's mask tilted close, their voice low and certain. Then you will die as more than you were told you could be. You will die as what you were meant to be. Aria closed her eyes. The voice inside her spoke once more, gentle but strong. You are the flame, you are the bridge, you choose how you burn. Her hands glowed brighter, the warmth spreading through her body. She felt the power pressing against her ribs, against her heart, begging to be free. Suddenly, the corridor shook again, the walls cracking. A shadow fell across the city as a massive ship descended from the clouds. Its shape was jagged and cruel, its engines roaring like thunder. The Empire had arrived. The cloaked figure drew their blade again, standing tall. They will demand you. They will claim you. But you are not theirs unless you give yourself. Aria looked through the broken window at the massive ship. Her heart pounded, her skin glowing brighter with every beat. She whispered to herself, I am not weak. I am not too much. I am not theirs. Her stepfather screamed from the corner. You are nothing without me. They will take you, and you will be used until you are broken. Aria turned her head slowly, her glowing eyes fixing on him. No, she said, her voice steady. I am nothing without myself, and I am choosing me. The cloaked figure's voice rose over the sound of the alarms. Then choose now, child of the ancients, accept what you carry or let them tear it from you. Aria lifted her hands, the glow spreading through every part of her. Her breath came in short gasps, but her chest rose with fire. I choose, she whispered, and the power surged like a storm. The traitors who had survived screamed in fear. Crawling away, her stepfather covered his face, his voice lost in terror. Even the cloaked figure stepped back, shielding their eyes from the light. Aria's body burned like a star, her skin shining, her hair lifting in the energy that surrounded her. For the first time, she did not fight it. She welcomed it. The building shook as the Empire's ship landed outside. A voice boomed from the sky, deep and commanding. Bring us the vessel, or be destroyed. The towers trembled, the ground split, the city cried out in fear. But Aria stood in the center, her glow brighter than the fire in the sky. Her voice rose calm and strong. I am not your vessel, I am not your slave, I am mine. The choice was made. There would be no turning back. The sky shook with thunder as the Empire's warship descended. Its jagged hull blocked the sun, its engines screamed like storms. The city trembled, towers cracking under the weight of its shadow. The people below cried out in fear, rushing to the ground as soldiers poured from the ship. Their armor gleamed silver, their weapons burned with red light. And in the center of it all, Aria stood, glowing, her body alive with power she had once feared. The cloaked figure raised their blade, their voice steady. They will not stop, not until they take you. Not until you are broken. Aria's eyes burned with light, her breath deep, her voice calm. Then I will not let them take me. The ground split as soldiers marched forward, their leader stepping ahead. His armor was darker than the rest, his voice deep and sharp as thunder. You are the vessel, he called. You belong to the Empire, surrender, and you may live. Aria shook her head slowly, her glow spreading across her arms. I am not your vessel. I am not yours to claim. The soldiers raised their weapons, beams of red light filling the air. Aria lifted her hands and the power inside her surged like a storm. The first blast of fire struck her chest, but instead of falling, she stood tall. The light inside her absorbed it, brighter and stronger. Her stepfather screamed from behind, his voice breaking. Give in, girl, you cannot fight them, they will crush you. But Aria turned her head, her voice clear. I am not yours. Not theirs, I am mine. With a cry, she unleashed her power. A wave of light burst from her chest, sweeping across the soldiers. Their weapons shattered, their armor cracked. They fell to the ground like broken dolls. The city shook as the blast tore through the streets, leaving only silence behind. The Empire's leader staggered but did not fall. His dark armor smoked, but his voice rose louder. You are strong, but you cannot control it. You will burn, and when you burn, we will take what is left. Aria's breath was heavy, her hands trembling, but the voice inside her whispered, You are not fire that destroys, you are fire that chooses. The cloaked figure stepped forward, their blade ready. You cannot face him alone, they said. But Aria shook her head, her glowing eyes fixed on the leader. I was never alone. The voices of the ancients walk with me. I carry them, the Empire's leader charged, his blade burning red. Aria raised her hands, the light within her roaring like the heart of a star. When their weapons met, the clash shook the city, a burst of fire and shadow that blinded the sky. The people below cried out, shielding their eyes. The towers shook, glass shattered, the ground split beneath them. Aria's body screamed in pain, the power too vast for her flesh. But she pushed forward, her voice rising with every strike. I am not too wide. I am strong enough. I am not too soft. I am more than steel. I am not too much. I am enough. Her words burned louder than her light. The Empire's leader roared, his armor cracking, his blade bending. You are only human, he shouted, but Aria's light grew brighter, her body glowing like the sun itself. I am human, she cried, and I am more. With one final surge, she unleashed everything. The blast of light consumed the leader, shattering his armor, tearing him. Apart, it struck the warship above, ripping through its jagged hull. The sky exploded with fire as the ship split into two, falling in burning pieces. The sound echoed across the city like thunder made of light. Silence followed. The soldiers who survived dropped their weapons, their heads bowed. The people rose from the shadows, their eyes wide with awe. And in the center of the ruin, Aria stood, her glow fading, her breath soft. Her body trembled, but she did not fall. The cloaked figure approached, their voice quiet. They will remember this day, not as the day the Empire took you, but as the day you stood against them. Aria looked at her hands, still faintly glowing. Her heart ached with pain, but it also beat with pride. I was sold for a drink, she whispered, her eyes wet. But I was never weak, I was never too much, I was chosen. Her stepfather lay silent in the shadows, broken by fear, unable to speak. For the first time in her life, his voice had no power over her. The people gathered, kneeling not in fear, but in respect. They looked at her not as a burden, but as hope. Aria lifted her head to the sky, the smoke still rising from the fallen ship. The voice inside her spoke one last time. You are not only the vessel, you are the flame, the beginning of legend. And in her heart, she knew it was true. The galaxy would remember her not as a girl too wide, too soft, too full, but as the human who stood, who chose, who burned bright enough to break an empire.